When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Ali.
And I'm Sarah. And we must discuss what Ali is wearing.
Yes, as many loyal listeners and viewers will know, we've now got a segment which is, what the hell is Ali wearing? Yeah. And this week, I am wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey, which is the wrong football. I'm aware before I get yelled at. I'm aware it's hand egg, not soccer. Yeah. I'm aware.
But this is going to be fun for me because now I get to learn what you actually know about the team that you are sporting right now. You are correct. It's the National Football League, American football.
I've got that right so far.
You know it's Cleveland, obviously.
Yes, I'm also aware they're terrible. So,
this is true.
I will explain. So, as loyal listeners will know, I did a jaunt around the States and I hit various different places, met up with different people, and Cleveland was one of the places that I went to. That's not why I'm wearing a jersey. Ish.
Did you get the jersey in Cleveland?
No.
Okay.
So this is what I'm saying. Ish. So I met many people on my journey, and many of them were trying to convince me to get an NFL team. I like Tim did his best. He took me to a bar. He sat and he explained the rules to me.
Also, can I just interject though? For those NFL fans listening, Tim, a Green Bay Packers fan, took Allie to a Minnesota bar. I believe it was. Maybe it was a Bears bar. Either way, bad idea. I think it was a Bears bar. Chicago Bears are rivals. This is like taking a United fan to a City bar. This is like taking an Arsenal fan to a Tottenham bar. What are you doing? Why? Yeah.
Tim made some great arguments on why I should be a Packers fan, talking about the ownership, talking about like what the fans and what it does for the community. Honestly, I was almost sold. And then I get to Cleveland and I'm staying with my friends, Leah and her wife, Devon, who took me to the W bar. And Devon did the one thing to get me to support your team and just went, I will support West Ham if you throw your hat into being a Browns fan. And my friend, that's all it took. I'm sorry, Tim, you gave such a pitch, but you missed the crucial thing to make me be a fan of your team.
All I'm going to say is that it's fitting. And I warned you. You said that you felt like it was a kinship because it was the trials of the Cleveland fans. And I did warn you via text. I believe I said, no offense to what you have been through as a West Ham fan. I respect that, what you've been through. But it has nothing on what these poor Cleveland fans have been through. Nothing holds a candle to it.
And as I said to Devon, and she agreed with me, which is, why have one team to ruin your Sunday when you can have two? So she has thrown her hat in and will be a West Ham fan. I am going to be a Cleveland Browns fan. She's also toying with an NWSL team. So if anybody's got any pictures of who she should pick, like, hit us up on socials. Like, if you want to pitch why you should have a very cool person as a fan of your team, we're all about it.
Do you want to tell us who's on the back of this jersey?
It's a guy called Couch. He's a legend of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Okay.
This is all I know.
Okay, this is wild. For you, Allie, I'm sporting something. It's a Minnesota Aurora hat. It's a USL team, USLW League. So shout out to the Minnesota Aurora. It's very cool merch. I like it a lot. And if you're watching this and you like it, you can go buy it and support a local women's soccer team in the United States. How wonderful.
And very quickly, before we tell you what is coming up.
Yeah, because we're not here to talk about fashion, despite what it sounds.
We're not. This is not a random episode of Fits and Kits. However, tangentially, we are currently running a little silly competition on our socials that I just wanted to give you guys a shout out. Again, in the segment of what the hell is Ali wearing, we've learned that I like to wear random US college merch. So I've put it on our socials. I will repost it, but hit me up with your most random college, university, high school team that I should be repping. And the winner will get a shout out on the pod, and I will buy some merch from said college, uni, high school, and wear it on a future episode. So hit us up. We've had some great suggestions so far. I'm loving them. Keep them coming in, and we will pick a winner probably beginning of next year, and I will give me time to get the merch in, and you will get a shout out, and I will rep whatever you suggest.
Speaking of, let's get into it because we are in our home stretch, our final few episodes of 2025, and we've got a lot to cover today. I'm very excited. I feel like the whole episode, it's meaty, Allie. It's juicy. Everything could be possibly like a leading story, if you will. But first of all, we're going to talk WSL. Chelsea have lost for the first time in a long time in 35 matches. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Arsenal and what is going on in that dressing room. And then Allie is going to play me a clip that I haven't seen yet of a tackle apparently made by Ruesha Littlejohn, the Irish international, who, did I not say the name right? Is that why you made that face? Did I say it with
I made
an
that
American
face
accent?
because you said the word tackle. Wait till you see this thing
understood.
before you call it a tackle.
Okay.
It's a something.
I'm going to live react to that, whatever it is. And then we are talking NWSL, Trinity Rodman, saga of it all. Where are we at now? What is about to happen? Obviously, that's pretty timely, so it could change from the time we record to when you listen. Hopefully not, but either way, we're going to get you updated until this moment. Then we're going to close it out with the Champions League.
So we have to focus on the WSL first because it was a momentous weekend. Manchester City have now gone 6 points clear at the top with their win against Leicester. It was a bit squeaky bum time for Arsenal because it was a 1-1 against Liverpool until a very last minute goal. And the story of all stories, which is Chelsea's winning streak is over.
In a big one at that, right? 35 matches undefeated. And then it's ended.
Yep. It was 35 matches undefeated. It is a record, and I have to clarify this, in modern women's football, as in from the WSL. Arsenal currently hold the actual record, which is something stupid, like 108 matches undefeated. They went from like 2006 to 2012 without being defeated. But in modern WSL era, it is the record. And we actually talked about who we thought it could be that was going to end this.
I don't think either of us said Everton.
We did not. I think one said Arsenal, the other one said Manchester City. But it was the mighty Toffees that did it. And credit where all credit's due. Everton played an absolute blinder.
Did they play a blinder, though? This is going to be my question. Did they play a blinder, or did Courtney Brosnan play a blinder? Because I feel like Courtney Brosnan played the blinder. Everton did well, but it was Courtney Brosnan who, like, had the game of her life.
Look, you have to, and we will talk about Brosnan. Me and Mike, if you listen to the other 8, we've shouted out Courtney so many times as being one of the most underrated goalkeepers in the league at the moment. However, that entire Everton backline, Ruby Mace played one of the best games I've seen her play ever. Everybody was getting back to defend. Look, did they park the bus? Of course they did. It's Chelsea, okay? You've got a 1-0 lead against Chelsea. You are going to try and hold on to that as hard as you can because you need those 3 points. Everton are near the bottom. It gives them a nice cushion between West Ham and Liverpool. They needed this.
Well, because they scored in the 12th minute. They went up 1-0 in the 12th minute. That needs to be said over Chelsea.
Yeah.
So even if they weren't going to park the bus initially, that's when they really parked the bus. The possession stats, it's basically 80% Chelsea on possession.
Yep, but you can't win games on possession.
No, you certainly can't. You can win on shots and shots on goal. 30 shots for Chelsea. 30 shots they peppered Courtney Brosnan with. 6 of those were on goal. So first of all, that's not very good efficiency. But I mean, it's kind of wild. Everton had 4 shots. 2 of them were on target. 1 of them went in. Can you call that a blinder?
Yes, because you look at, like, I don't think the stats really tell the story. Of course, Chelsea, I would say, arguably on paper were the better team. However, and I've been saying this for so long, and I kept getting yelled at by Chelsea fans, but look, Chelsea have been formidable. You cannot take that away from them. They have got to Champions League semi-finals. They won the league undefeated last season. But they've not been as terrifying as they have in previous seasons. there has definitely been a few games where they rode their luck in getting either the draw or the win. They've actually only got 2 points out of 9 from the last 3 games. So they've had 2 draws and now a loss. So, and there's definitely been some pieces missing, and they've obviously got some key players out. You know, Millie Bright is currently out, Hannah Hampton is currently out, Sam Kerr is only just coming back from injury. Lauren James, this is the first minutes she's seen since the Euros, basically. So there's definitely some elements, but I don't want to turn this into Chelsea lose and take away from the gameplay that Everton did, because Tony Payne was phenomenal. Hayashi with that goal, she outpaced Ellie Carpenter. They split those centre backs, and you know what? Bronze was pulled out of position. Carpenter was too slow off the pace, couldn't cover her, and basically it was a beautiful slot home for Hayashi. Like, you can't. I don't want this just to become, oh no, what happened to Chelsea? Because Everton did it beautifully.
We have to do both, because it's both sides of the coin. And I have very little to say about Chelsea, and then we can give Everton all the credit in the world. And you've said they were slow. Ellie Carpenter was slow. Chelsea was slow. They looked tired. They looked disconnected. That goal that Everton scored, frankly, if I was a Chelsea midfielder or defender, I would be embarrassed. The amount of people that were out of position, that did not get back, that you watch the replay, were jogging back, it's horrific. Truly, honestly. And even if Ellie Carpenter got outpaced, like, you gotta get to that ball, you gotta be goal side. It was no bueno. Like, it was very, very bad. And then you just watch them on offense. And like I said, Courtney Brosnan had a screamer of a game. There were some shots, specifically Katarina Macario had one that in almost any other game, I believe, would go in. I feel like it was Alyssa Thompson in any other game had a shot that might have gone in. Courtney Brosnan just had a screamer of a game. But even with that being said, it was a lot of individual efforts in terms of Chelsea, in terms of some of the like very dangerous shots that they were creating. They looked off the pace. They looked slow. They looked like they've been playing in a lot of different games and a lot of different tournaments, and it didn't look good. And now let's give Everton the credit where I don't know. I mean, like, Everton was the team to do it. We didn't expect them to be the team to do it. And it's wild that they are, because you look at where they are. They're now in 9th place with 8 points. But that's after they secured those 3 just now against Chelsea. They had 5 points coming into this game. 5 points. They had a win and 2 draws in the entirety of the season so far. Is this a big, oh my God, this is what Everton can be? Or was this, I'm trying to give them credit, and I'm also not trying to like ride the wave of like, and Everton are going to be fantastic for the rest of the season. But it was a nice glimpse.
It was a nice glimpse. And again, very similar to Chelsea, they had some key players out. Like, their last game they played in the league was to West Ham, and they lost, but that's because their number 1 goal kick, Brosnan, wasn't in. It was Emily Ramsey that was in goal. You know, Gago's just come back. Like, they've been missing some really key pieces in their midfield and defence, and that's where they've leaked a lot of goals. Do I think they're going to just shoot up and be title contenders? Of course not. But I do think that they're now going to be a scary team to play if you're a mid-table team.
I have a question, because it's the question that everybody likes to ask when it comes to which league is the most competitive. And it's like, we've always said, here we go. I know, but I gotta bring it back. You're going to like the way that this one turns out, though.
Am I?
In the never-ending, possibly exhausted debate of best league in the world, most competitive league in the world, blah, 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 we have always said that the WSL is not the most competitive top to bottom. And a big thing to point to with that is look at Chelsea, 35, 34, 33, like wherever we were in time, that many games undefeated. It's not that competitive. And now Chelsea have just been handed their first defeat of the season by a team that's 9 out of 12 teams. Is the WSL becoming more competitive top to bottom?
I would like to believe so, because I think, you know, it is definitely a league where any team can beat any team on any given day. It hasn't proven that as much. But then the argument is always, oh, well, the NWSL is more competitive. And then we'll look at Kansas City. Kansas City did a Chelsea this season, and absolutely...
They didn't do a Chelsea, but they did run away with it. Fair.
They ran away with it. That's what I mean. They did it.
We can now say that they did it at Manchester City, but we'll come on to that in a second.
They ran away with it. So I do think that it's always going to, and when we talk about some of our other topics, we're going to probably come back to this, because it's always going to come down to money. And that's as simple as that. And teams that invest do well, and teams that don't. And we've seen that Everton are investing. We had the wonderful Brian Sorensen on last season, and he talked about why he committed his future to Everton, because they are investing and he's getting the sort of players that he wants. They've handed over a very historic ground, as we've mentioned, to their women's team, and they are playing at Goodison now, which is huge. So yeah, that is definitely becoming the level of competitiveness that we want. Is it competitive top to bottom? I still don't think so, because of the whole money situation, and that's just the way it is.
Agreed. I was about to be like, it's still not, but this was nice to see.
It was nice to see, and I'm not just saying that as somebody who's not a fan of Chelsea. It's always great to see. You know, as I said before, we are British. We like an underdog.
Yeah. All right, now we have to finish by talking about the Manchester City of it all, because Manchester City now sit in first place, 27 points. They have 9 wins, no draws, and just 1 loss. That puts them in first. They're now 6 points ahead of Chelsea, who are in second place. United is just 1 point behind Chelsea. They're sitting in third place, and Arsenal just 1 point behind United. Shockingly, somehow, Arsenal, by the way, tied on points with Tottenham, both of them at 19, and both of them just 1 point out of Champions League spot contention, which is wild based on the seasons. Just kind of like utterly insane. But, okay, City, have they run away with it?
I do think that their competitors have definitely given them a hand. Like, their one loss was to Chelsea, which was the first game of the season, and then they've managed to crack on with that, whereas we have seen Arsenal drop points to different teams. Like, they drew with Manchester United, they lost to Chelsea. We're seeing Chelsea and Manchester United drawing with each other. It's definitely, I feel that Manchester City have been very consistent, and they have remained that consistent, and they are, you know, getting there, and they're doing well. And maybe not having Champions League football, again, we're seeing it has become a good thing for them, because they have got something to focus on, which is the league, rather than having to, you know, worry about traveling here, there, and everywhere for a European competition. But I do think it's the other teams around them as well has definitely given them a helping hand to have that, you know, nice bit of daylight between them and second.
It's obviously always hard to say that they've run away with it. And nobody's run away with it at this point. But in the WSL, 6 points is big. And especially, as you mentioned, Ali, with one of the head-to-heads versus Chelsea out of the way, Chelsea now just have one remaining head-to-head against City to try to make up some points. They can make up 3, but they're going to need to find the other 3 elsewhere. So, I don't know. It's hard to say specifically also because City, opposite of Chelsea, who's looked like, okay, they're not looking their best, but they're pulling out wins. City's looked fantastic. They just look wonderful on the field. So, it's hard to not root for it's hard to root against them right now. Moving into something WSL related, but not on the field related. And I'm curious about this because this pertains to my squad, but Ali has brought this to me and said, we should talk about the Arsenal locker room drama. And I've been like, what? As somebody who hasn't been online for a week or so, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And I'm a little worried, but let's do it. What's going on in Arsenal's locker room?
Oh, so much drama. So the main thing that is happening is there was an article has come out in the Athletic, which is trying to like analyze what is happening with Arsenal, because there's been a huge drop off. You can admit that as a Gooner that there's been a massive drop off. You've gone from winning the Champions League to battling for 4th with Tottenham, let's be honest. And it's not been great. And basically the Athletic wanted to know why. And so they've done some investigations, and it seems to be that there is some hierarchical stuff going on in the dressing room. And it's senior players stamping their authority, but not in a good way. This is not about, you know, senior players, you know, being that leader but being seniors. And so there were some big examples, and the big one that's got everybody talking is about how the changing rooms are laid out, which doesn't sound like a big thing, but it's huge. So most clubs lay their changing out by squad number.
Yeah, you go into a locker room and everybody's got their locker, and it usually starts with 0 and then 1, 2, 3. You're next to the person who you are next to in terms of the number on the back of your jersey. Yes.
Arsenal don't do this. Arsenal's changing room is set out by seniority. So the player that has been at Arsenal the longest sits at one end, and then it goes all the way to the newbies.
That's not only weird, but that's just a recipe for disaster, because you're already going to have coexist. We can all sit here and live in the fantasy that everybody on the team loves everybody equally. But the reality is that it's a group of 20-something people, and you're closer to some people than others. And the newer people are going to have to meld in and find their friends. And that's a lot harder to do when you are already sitting in a changing room next to somebody else who's brand new. Guess who you're going to become friends with? Other people who are brand new. And then it automatically is going to silo and create these little squads and pods of, okay, well, that's the old guard. This is the medium guard. This is the new guard. That's what's going to happen. You don't have to be a sociologist to know that.
Yeah, exactly. And this predates, before people jump on, this predates Renee, this predates Jonas. This seems to have been something that Arsenal have done for years. And you know what? Currently, Arsenal have one of the oldest squads in the WSL. They field the oldest squad in the WSL, I should say, more so, because they have young talent. They have some young players that are looking to break through, and they're just not.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Jenna Neiswanger, for example. I feel like there's only 2, maybe 3, speaking of young players on Arsenal, Olivia Smith, screamer of a goal this past weekend. Screamer of a goal. But there's only been a few young stars that we've seen break through into the squad.
Yeah, so we talk about Jenna Neiswanger, there's Victoria Pelova, and also Cooney Cross, which is the biggest mystery to everybody, because she came in off of an absolute wonder player during her time for the national team of Australia, coming to Arsenal, and has made about 5 appearances for Arsenal.
More than that. I was going to say, I'd be shocked that people are I don't know. It's definitely more than that. I'm going to look this up. But people are saying that they feel like Kyra Cooney-Cross, it's shocking that she hasn't gotten the playing time that they feel she deserves.
She's been with them since 2023 and has made 38 appearances. That's not good.
Yeah. Okay, so we can she was there at the end of 2023 because she came off of the World Cup. Let's maybe eliminate those couple of months, because that's her coming off of a World Cup, joining a new squad. So let's say that she's been there for all of 2024 and the entirety of 2025. That's 2 years, right? And you said she's made 38 appearances?
Yep. And that's including that's including cup appearances, that's including friendlies, that's including
19 appearances per year. And that's pretty wild. That's wild. Okay, fair.
Yeah, and so people are asking, what's going wrong with Arsenal? Because there's been a lot of blame placed at managers' heads, like we've all talked about Jonas and the dynamic he brought, but it does seem to be it's Arsenal, the rot is at the top, and it's working its way down.
I mean, obviously they found this about the locker room layout, but do they find anything about the dynamics, or they're just saying this is how the locker room is laid out, and we can interpret from that what we will about the dynamics? But it's kind of hard to sit here and be like, we're assuming this is how the dynamics are, but we don't know.
No, there's been conversations talking about Claire Wheatley, who is the director of women's football at Arsenal, where some say that she is efficient, others say that she's difficult, she's distant, she doesn't have anything really to do with the day-to-day, so she doesn't really know what Arsenal need, which is not very good for someone who's in charge of your transfers. So there's been an investigation into the dynamic, shall we say.
Here's the one thing I have to say, is that everything you just brought up, that's all something that would be playing a role, would be an issue for a long extended period of time. But we're right now looking at what has been the drop up from last year to this year. And for me, it's all of that, but there has to be something else. Is it just as simple as a Champions League hangover combined with all of that? I believe everything you just said is probably one of, if not the root cause of all of these issues. But it's still curious to me what has happened between last year and this year. And obviously Arsenal haven't been on top for a very long time. And they've been a squad for the past 5 years that couldn't quite close it out, couldn't quite close the door. Were amazing one weekend and not super amazing the next weekend. But this has still been a steep decline from last year to this year. And so I want to know what else has made this fall off. Obviously, I believe that is an issue. And I think that there's something else. And I'm curious what it is. All right, from a less fun, more serious topic to what I'm maybe most excited for in this podcast. Take it away, Allie.
So, to catch people up, they will see that Ruesha Littlejohn now plays for Crystal Palace, who are in the Championship. They were playing Leicester City in the wonderfully now titled Subway Cup in the final group game. And Sarah called it a tackle. That's because she's not seen it on Hannah Kane. So Sarah's going to see it now.
I'm so excited.
Bit of a wrestle.
What is going on?
Well, things just getting a little bit little bit silly. And the referee, Alice Parker, is going to have to deal with this here.
That's insane. I don't know. That was insane. That was wild. Is she okay? What would lead her to do that? I don't know. We've seen Ruesha Littlejohn get into some scuffles before. We all remember the drama that was Ireland playing Australia in the World Cup, but we're not get into the behind the scenes of that because we're not a gossip podcast. But like, we've seen some what could be called disrespectful moments, but that is next level. That is next level.
So she clotheslined Hannah Kane for WWE fans out there, and so got...
I wouldn't even call that a clothesline. I would call that a full-on headlock, spinning her all the way around and throwing her onto the ground.
Yep. So quite rightly got the red, and then Leicester protested to get it upgraded because they said that was violent conduct and it should be more than the standard 3-game ban.
I think that's accurate and fair.
So, again, we're not condoning. Littlejohn got a little bit of abuse online, which, unfortunately, that's the world we live in at the moment. We are not condoning it at all. Carla Ward defended Littlejohn, saying she doesn't deserve it. She knows what she's done. She's sorry. Still expecting a Littlejohn call-up to the Island game.
Okay, and
so this is where we were like, okay, you know what? And she did her statement about how she was sorry and that she, heat in the moment. So it's come out now that she's now been given a 5-game ban. So that's 2 extra games on top of the standard 3-game ban, which, to be honest, considering some of the precedent the FA has set, I'm surprised it's only 5 games. West Ham fans will remember that Howard got a 7-game ban for what was deemed a punch against Sarah Mailing. I'm not getting into that one. So I was surprised it was only 5. So there's been a lot of commentary. However, the reason I'm bringing this up now is not because of all of that, mainly because I didn't realise Sarah hadn't seen it, so that was fun. But Ruesha hasn't taken kindly to her critics and has gone commenting and has gone wayward commenting, including using some very ableist language against a very young TikToker who has been commenting on the WSL for a while. She's basically now people are asking that she be removed from Crystal Palace in January.
Wow. Ooh. I mean, listen, I don't know well enough. I think the only thing that matters is who's calling for that. Is it Crystal Palace fans or is it not Crystal Palace fans? If it's Crystal Palace fans, then Crystal Palace needs to listen and seriously assess. But I was wondering how this was going to come back around to the football of it all. Ruesha Littlejohn is a great player on the field, and she's an Irish international. She means a lot to that squad. So to remove her would be massive for a WSL2 team. I'm in utter shock. I guess we'll see how this plays out. But she's not going to play until end of January at this point. So at least they have some time, I think, to really consider what's going on. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world. starting with Spain, and Barcelona remains 7 points clear at the top of the table after their win this weekend. Nearest rivals Real Madrid also won this weekend against third-place Sociedad. Atletico Madrid remained fourth after their draw against Seville.
Italy and Roma remain top of the league with 6 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss so far this season. However, they could only manage a draw against league title rivals Juventus. Como women, however, are climbing the table and they are in second after their win against Parma this weekend. Juve and Fiorentina are tied for third.
And over to Germany, a massive 5-0 win for Bayern over title rivals Frankfurt. And they are now 6 points clear over second place Wolfsburg, who also won this past weekend. Bremen and Leverkusen both won to remain in third and fourth, respectively.
And to France, and Lyon remain the only undefeated team in Europe. They beat Dijon 3-0 to keep their place top of the table. PSG are second after their massive win over Marseille on Friday. And rounding out the top 3 is Paris FC, who also won this weekend, beating Le Havre 3-0.
This episode is brought to you by NBA on Prime. The NBA on Prime is back with an exciting week of Emirates NBA Cup action. The knockout rounds begin with quarterfinal doubleheaders on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Then it's a semifinal doubleheader on Saturday. And it all culminates with the championship game next Tuesday night, only on Prime. If you're not a Prime member, sign up for a 30-day free trial to get started today. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
The Who's Down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
Just because the league is over doesn't mean there is not NWSL drama that is happening. And of course, we have to talk about what is going on with Trinity Rodman, because it keeps on continuing. It keeps getting worse. Let's be honest, if it carries on the way it's going, she will not be playing in the NWSL next season.
True.
So let's recap for the people if they do not know what is going on.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all started right before, kind of during the playoffs. It kind of all came out right before the championship and the lead up to the championship weekend. Rumors start to swirl that Rodman might be going overseas after the NWSL season is up, after her contract is up. During the finals weekend and all of the media parade that comes with it, the NWSL commissioner, Jessica Berman, made I won't call it a strong statement, but she made a statement that the league is, quote, committed to keeping Trinity Rodman in the league. That is what she said. Okay, whatever that comes with, we're not sure, but that's what she said. And then the NWSL championship is played. After that, it is revealed that this Washington Spirit actually did offer Trinity Rodman a contract extension that she was happy with and ready to sign, but NWSL commissioner Jessica Berman shot it down. This is where we start to get into it. This is where we really need to comment on some things. But let's get into some of the details of what happened here, and then we'll talk more about it in terms of what it means for the league, what it means for Trinity, and what possibly good could come from this. But from what we know, the offer from Washington included a 4-year scaling contract that would see Trinity Rodman's compensation increase in the deal's final 2 years, and it would see Rodman averaging over $1 million per year. The exact number is not known. And Rodman, as I said, was reportedly on board with the deal that the Spirit proposed. But when Jessica Berman shot this down, she said, quote, that it violated the spirit of the league's rules. Just let that sink in. So the final step of this is that the NWSL Players Association has filed a grievance with the league on the behalf of Trinity Rodman last week, arguing that the league's rejection of the agreed upon terms between Rodman and the Spirit was, quote, a flagrant violation of her free agency rights and at least 5 sections of the collective bargaining agreement. The other piece of this, of course, is we've talked about, we know Trinity Rodman is being pursued by other clubs in other countries. Namely, we know some WSL teams. We are assuming maybe some other European squads, but Chelsea's obviously come up. Arsenal has obviously come up. And I guess the biggest piece of this, of course, if you're wondering, like, well, why can't she just get paid? Well, the NWSL has a rule that there is a salary cap for every team. So every single club cannot exceed the $3.5 million salary cap for the 2026 season. In 2030, as in 4 years from now, the salary cap will rise to $5.1 million. But for now, every team has a spending cap of $3.5 million. And this is why when Trinity Rodman, when this all first started swirling around, the debate started coming out. And we've talked about this, but we might as well talk about it here. Is it time for the salary cap to be eliminated in the NWSL? Because now, you used to have a salary cap, you used to have a draft, and that all kept the league really competitive, top to bottom. And that's what the NWSL has going for them right now, is it's competitive, top to bottom. We've talked about this on the podcast before. But now other teams in other countries can outspend you, and players will leave for more money. So there's so many pieces to this. I almost don't even want to get into that.
This is why I'm torn, though, because you talked about it with Amy. We've not talked about it. So I want to put my like 2 pence in, because I am torn, because I, in theory, like a spending cap, because I do like the idea that, because we're seeing it in the WSL, which, you know what, the reason we have the top 3 teams that we have are because those are the clubs that are pouring money. And we saw Chelsea this last year got something ridiculous like a £20 million boost from Serena Williams and her husband. Chelsea didn't need that 20 million. If you'd given that 20 million to an Everton, to a Liverpool, to a West Ham, to even a championship team like the thing, we saw what Michelle Kang's done with London City Lionesses, it would have made much more of a difference. So part of me likes the spending cap because it does make things fair, and it does make things that, you know what, one person, like, because Washington Spirit, that's Michelle Kang's. Am I not wrong? So she could have put in a chunk of money to bring in the best players and boost the Spirit that way. And I like that there is something stopping that. But at the same time, careers are short. Players need to earn their buck where they can earn their buck. And not everybody can get mega endorsement deals. I'm not saying that Rodman can't, but they should be able to earn a good wage and the best wage in their peak playing careers. But I'm not going to lie, I am falling more on the side of a spending cap than not.
And I think that that's fair. I mean, like, I love that about the NWSL. But here's the kicker. Jessica Berman didn't veto this and say, oh, it's because you'd exceed the spending cap. So obviously, the veto isn't because this would exceed the spending cap. Washington Spirit seemed to be well within the spending cap. What she vetoed it with is saying that it wasn't within the spirit of the league's rules. The spirit of the league's rules. That is not saying that it's outside of the league's rules. It's outside of the spirit of them. Which, listen, listening to Jessica Berman talk a lot of times is trying to decipher a word salad and seeing if there's anything of substance within there. Usually there's not, and it's a lot of words that have no meaning because she doesn't want to give an actual answer. So the exact details of it are not super clear. We do know that part of the contract that was proposed to Trinity Rodman had the increase in pay in the last 2 years because the Spirit knew that they would get more money from media deal and media rights. So perhaps they're evading the spending cap that way by saying, hey, we're actually not paying Trinity Rodman. This money is coming from media deals and it's coming another way. And that could potentially be the spirit of the league or league's rules that Jessica Berman is talking about. But at the end of the day, This is an utter embarrassment, in my opinion, to the NWSL. You have a star player that actively wants to stay in your league, which, for the record, not many of them do right now. Let's just be clear. Most of them are playing overseas. And you have outright said that you will do anything you can to keep her here. And then a deal is proposed by a team. The team likes it. The player likes it. And then you go back and you say, well, this isn't in the spirit of the league. And I get why the NWSL Players Association filed the grievance that they did, because what are we, like, why are we calling free agency when it's clearly not? Free agency is supposed to mean that this is a free player. There's a bunch of clubs. The player and the clubs talk to each other. They agree on something. Great. End of the deal. Done. But instead, there's now this overarching commissioner who can say, actually, that deal is not really in the spirit of what this league is about. We're not really about paying our players. They should just stay here and be thankful that they're here. And that's it. Like, it's that part is a load of bull for me. But it's embarrassing. Do you not think this is embarrassing for the league?
No, I genuinely don't, because, like, I think that Rodman needs to get more money. Of course I do. I think she's a talented player and absolutely deserves more money. Do I think it's embarrassing? No, because at the moment, you guys are still a really fragile league. All women's football is really fragile, and yours is more so because you don't have the backing of a male team, which can be a help or a hindrance. We've talked about this at length. If one player is getting a massive, because it goes up to $1 million, that is a third of their spending cap. If that is what they're arguing about, that is a third on one player. What's then going to stop another Spirit player being like, wait a minute, like, why is Rodman getting $1 million and I'm only getting, what, 100,000, 50,000? I get what they're talking about by saying it's not within the spirit of the league. You either have a spending cap or you don't. And if you've currently got a spending cap, then it is not within the spirit of the league.
But if it's within the spending cap, then it's within the league.
But it's going, I can see, like, playing devil's advocate, I can see what she's saying, because I think it can be, that little, like, the straw that broke the camel's back and could.
But that's not what a spending cap is. A spending cap is saying you, club, can spend this much money. That's up to you. Do you want to spend the same amount of money on every single player and have a lot of players that are about the same caliber? Or do you want to spend a ton of money on one or two big stars and try to fill in the pieces otherwise? That's up to you to determine. You have to give the club some kind of way to control themselves, their own team. Like, for me, this from Jessica Berman is about control. She wants control.
And how many leagues have you had that have collapsed? Just to answer that question. How many leagues?
That's not how that's not how those previous leagues were run, for the record. They didn't have spending caps.
But that's what they're going to try and stop. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I can see, and I'm, like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I can see in their head that you guys are on your fourth iteration?
For the record, though, if you think this is the first time a club has offered one player that percentage of their cap, you're wrong. It just hasn't been $1 million, right? This probably happened 7 years ago. The cap was lower, so the player's salary was lower, and we didn't hear about it, but it was probably the same percentage of the cap. And guess what? The league is gone.
Yeah, and you've also got to remember that Berman wants you guys to have as many teams as in the NFL.
Well, this is what I'm also kind of getting at in terms of control, where she has lost control of this league and its growth.
Which I get, but that's what I'm saying. Is like, this is what she wants. So therefore, I get where she's coming from, whether she's right or wrong. I'm not saying that, but I get where she's coming from. And it's like, and it is very much the case of, if you're going to have the spending cap, you can't. I mean, if you want to give most of your money to one player and then have the rest of your team resent that one player, because let's be honest, that's what's going to happen.
I don't know that would happen. I don't know, though. But that's also not for Jessica Berman to decide. Like, that's like having a CEO that's micromanaging the salaries all the way down to the lowest employee. That's not how this should go. Jessica Berman's job is to say, hey, this is your cap. Are you exceeding it or are you not? And how you decide to disseminate it, that's up to you. Do you want to burn everything down because you're going to give all your money to one player, everybody else is going to resent her, and then you're going to end up in last place? Hey, That's up to you to decide. That's not up to me. That's where I feel like she is completely overstepping. But I will be interested to see how this plays out legally, because she has used the term spirit of the league's rules, whatever the hell that means. Is this in violation of any rule, or is it not? Period. The end. Like a pre-existing rule, because there's a lot of the salary cap rules are so intricate. There's so much about them. Okay, well, where is this money coming from? Does a media deal money fall into the salary cap, or is it outside of the salary cap? Is there money that exists outside of the salary cap that is being paid to Trinity Rodman? What is going on here? It's like so intricate, we don't know and we can't get into it. So I'll be really curious to see how it plays out legally, if they are actually in violation or not. If they're not in violation of any rules, I feel like this is 100% Jessica Berman's issue. And I think all of the fans have the right to resent her for it and be mad at her for it if this does not actually violate any rules of the league.
I'm not saying, I would like to clarify, I'm not saying I agree with her, but I can see her point.
I know what you're saying. I'm just feeling passionate. And to be fair, I do love that about the NWSL. Like, I think that the salary cap is becoming very quickly a thing of the past. If you want to keep it, for example, I talked about with Amy, like maybe you make a David Beckham rule where you can designate a certain number of players that are outside of the salary cap or whatever. But we're seeing in real time right now the issue of the salary cap because of the growth of the leagues around the world. And something has to be done about it, or we're just going to keep bumping up into this same issue in terms of players leaving, the same issue in terms of players wanting to stay, not being paid money. Then there's a fight between the players and the commissioner. It's all bad. Like none of this is good. None of this is good news for the NWSL, right? But I get where you're coming from.
I'm going to put you on the spot just because so you've mentioned there are European clubs that are after. However, the club that I have seen her most linked to is DC Power.
We forgot to talk about this. Yeah, that's also embarrassing for the record. Can we agree on that? The USL Super League is also a Division 1 status. So 2 years ago, the USL, which was previously a pre-professional league, it is still has a pre-professional league, added on a professional league. So technically, there are 2 professional leagues in the United States, the NWSL and the USL Super League. Obviously, in people's minds, they think of them very differently because it seems that the higher caliber of player has been going to the NWSL. But this is a league that's in their second year, and they have outbid the NWSL. Like, that is embarrassing.
So do they have this salary cap then? Clearly, no.
The USL Super League is very much designed like European leagues. Yeah. And they're hoping to create the pyramid in the United States with a Division 1, a Division 2, promotion, relegation. It is very much the schedule that they play is designed to mirror that of the European leagues as well in terms of calendar dates. It is very much a league that is structured around a European design.
What does that say about football
It's embarrassing.
in the US?
Again, I don't think she's actually going to, and that's no disrespect to the caliber of, the USL Super League, but the only way to stick it to the NWSL more than going overseas is to stay in the United States and play in the other league. Like, it's crazy. I don't think she's going to, but it's embarrassing. Again, I think it's embarrassing for the NWSL. You're trying to call yourself the best league in the world, and this is what's happening to you. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. I don't know how Jessica Berman isn't. All right, so then let's play the scenario out. Trinity goes to DC Power, who offered her a massive salary. Does that start then a trend of big players moving from the NWSL to the USL Super League to get big money? Is the NWSL then in danger of kind of a power shift in terms of which league is the superior one in the United States? And if you're losing your great players to another league in the US, you might not even be the best league in this country, let alone the best league in the world. How are you to sit there and say that you're leading the charge around the world in terms of soccer when you're clearly losing everybody that's like all of the great players. And that's not a disrespect to the players who are still in the NWSL. Like, let's be clear here. But like, we have to acknowledge Naomi Gurma's playing overseas. Katarina Macario is playing overseas. Alyssa Thompson's playing overseas. Emily Fox is playing overseas. Like, the list goes on and on and on. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we can sit here and say, great players have always gone overseas because they want to get some development, blah, blah, blah. True. Not in this number, not in this mass exodus. It's an issue.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what happened to Rodman because Rodman is a caliber of a player, but as we mentioned in the previous part of this podcast, the Nashwan of it all, it doesn't mean guarantee it's going to work. You know, Del Kemper, when she went to City, yes, it was a slightly different time, but it didn't work. Mewis at West Ham didn't really work. Like,
right. For a second, I was because I was thinking City when you said Mewis, I pictured Sam Mewis, and I was like, Sam Mewis was not at West Ham, but you mean Christie? Yeah. Well,
that's what I mean. Like, it just going to Europe doesn't mean it's gonna work.
Totally. It means you're gonna get a lot of money, even if it works or not, though.
I do wonder what you guys think the WSL players are paid. Because it is not the mega bucks that I think you think it is.
No, I think that the NWSL has a higher base salary, but the WSL has a higher salary for stars. And when we're talking about Trinity Rodman, she would be in that second category in the latter half where she would be getting big money. All right. Well, I'm excited to see how this plays out. Yeah. I guess we'll see. Another spirited debate here on the Women's Soccer Show. All right, finally, we are going to talk Champions League, and we are loving this new structure this year. This week is going to be the second to last group stage games. Next week is going to be the sixth and final match day, so the final group stage games. So we've kind of made it, Allie. So for those who don't know, what happens next? Because this is just the group stage, and then what?
I love that we're still calling it a group stage, even though it's kind of not. It's the table
stage. It is, but
stage.
It isn't. Like, it's a table stage.
It's the table stage, and
yeah,
people.
But we're still going to call it the group stage. But I get why you're calling it the table stage.
It's the table stage, and people listen because this is what the Subway Cup is going to turn into next year if the
Subway Cup, which used to be the Continental Cup, for the record. I hate all these names.
It's still the Conti Cup.
Does Arnold Clark still exist?
No, the car company. Yes,
R.I.P.
The founder of women's football is no more.
All right, to the table stages.
So the way it works is there are currently 18 teams in the table. The top 4 after the final games are played automatically go through to the quarters. That they don't have to play again. They're done. Or round of 16. They're done. It's over. If you finish between 5th and 12th, you then have to play again to get your place into the next round.
You have to play again twice, really, because then you'd have a playoff and then another playoff, and the winner, everybody's grouped into groups of 4. It's basically like another group stage. I'm making this more complicated. Sorry, I'm trying to make it more clear, and I'm just making it harder for people to understand. Ignore me. Keep listening to Allie.
It is basically another group stage because it is complicated. Because if you finish between 5, 6, 7, and 8, you are then seeded as if it's a brand new tournament. And if you finish 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, you are unseeded. And an unseeded team can't play against another unseeded team, and a seeded team can't play against another seeded team. So basically, it's a bit like the NWSL playoffs in the fact the way they went from 1, 8 to 7, except for there will be a draw. It's not automatically number 5 will play number 12. But it's to give you guys a visual. That's what will happen with those.
So let's talk where we are right now. If everything were to end right now and we didn't have the final 2 games, who would be moving through? Is there anybody that's already guaranteed to move through? And is there anybody that is already done, eliminated, will not be moving on in Champions League?
Yes. So this is where it gets complicated. There are 5 teams that are going through to a next stage. We'll call it a next stage. It's not decided in which order, whether they're going to go straight through to
whether they get the pass to the quarters or they have to play into them.
Exactly. So currently 5 teams know that their Champions League journey will continue in some way. And that is Barcelona, Lyon, Wolfsburg, Manchester United and Bayern Munich. So that is currently 1 to 5. Regardless of what happens, they could lose their next games. They cannot be toppled. They will still go through. Currently, in the middle ground, you've got Chelsea, Real Madrid, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Arsenal, Leuven and Paris FC. They are currently in the mix to go to the knockout playoff stage, in what we're calling it. And they are, it's looking pretty good for them. And because of the points where the other teams are.
Ish. When you get down towards like Paris FC and Leuven, and even Arsenal, honestly, like Atletico Madrid, really also, like those 4 teams need a win. They need some big wins. The wildest thing for me is that PSG are done.
That's the thing. This is the thing. PSG, who in previous tournaments in the old format, when it was the groups of 4 and it was the top 2 went through, were mainstays. You could almost guarantee that they were going to get out the groups and would have got into the quarters. They have got nil points. They have got nothing in this new format.
It's 4 games, 4 losses.
Yeah, and they've had some harder games, and they have got what is on paper their easier games coming up, because these are the teams that were lower ranked, unseeded, came up through qualifications. But it's still not in their favour.
Yeah, I guess technically, statistically, they're not eliminated. Like, they could gain 6 points in the next 2 weeks. And if the teams above them that are, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams above them that are under 6 points right now, if they all lose enough to the point where they don't have 6 points, PSG could sneak in, but I don't necessarily see that happening. It's kind of wild.
It doesn't help because also a lot of these teams are playing each other. So it's sort of guaranteed, like that saying, like, for example, Paris FC's next game. So Paris FC are currently the lowest ranked in the qualification side. They're playing the team below them. So they're either going to put, some air between them, or they're going to get leapfrogged. But either way, it's not going to make PSG's journey any easier. So it's not looking good for PSG, because even though they've got, like I said, quote unquote, their easier games, they are playing. Let's see, they've got the aforementioned Belgian team, Leuven, and they've also got Benfica. Those are their last 2 games. So on paper, but then again, we've seen a depleted Manchester United beat them when they lost their best goalkeeper and one of their best defenders, and they still managed to beat PSG. It's not looking great.
It is not looking great. All right, let's talk about these final matches that we have in store for us. They're going to happen on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. So listening to this on Wednesday when it drops, they're happening right now and yesterday. Some great matchups this week and next. I don't know. There's a lot to circle. United is hosting Lyon. That's always going to be a fun one. Barcelona, Benfica obviously could be fun. But next week maybe holds the best one of all, and that's Wolfsburg hosting Chelsea. That is Wednesday, December 17th. So much fun. That one's going to be great. And that's it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. As ever, head to our Patreon. Tune in every Wednesday for more updates on the world of women's football. This has been a blast of an episode, a juicy one at that. And for the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.